Mavuika, the strongest DPS in the game, is having her first rerun, and it's worth looking at her teams again because she has even more now than she did on her first banner. If you're watching this video, then I'm sure you already know how strong she is, so I won't waste time telling you. Before we get into the teams, let's talk about the sponsor of the video, Loot Bar. They sell in-game currency for all kinds of gachas, including Genshin Impact and Star Rail, and it's up to 25% cheaper than in-game. They even have a 10% off coupon for new users, so you can save even more. Personally, I find the in-game prices are a bit too much, but the Loot Bar prices are a lot more reasonable. They worked with other creators you might have heard of, like Supera Tom and Raiden Shotgun, and have over 20,000 positive Trustpilot reviews. They're completely safe, but you can check their reputation on Google first if you want to. They are quite a well-known company, even outside of gacha. You only need the UID and server, and your crystals will go through immediately. Check the link in the description to grab some discounts. So, a team with Seat Lally, Shalonen and Bennett is not only Mavuika's best team, but the best team for any characters in the game right now. If you have all these characters, you're playing the game on easy mode. It demolishes every game mode and every combat event. Attack from Bennett and the Pyro Resonance, 36% Pyro Shred from Shalonen, 20% from Seat Lally as well as Cryo Application for Melts, 40% Pyro damage from 4P's Scroll, and then Mavuika twatting everything in the head with a motorbike. It's no surprise it destroys everything. For those that don't have Seat Lally, you can swap her out for Farina. You'll be triggering Vapes instead of Melts, which isn't as strong, but I still put it up there with the best teams for other DPSs. For Shalonen's 4P Scroll buff, you can try and trigger Crystallize separately with both Pyro and Hydro, but if you can't be bothered, you'll be fine just not thinking about it. Endgame's easy anyway. The team still has plenty of damage in it, and if for whatever reason you haven't managed to get a 4P's Codex for Mavuika, you can give a Marechaussee with you having Farina in the team. It's an easy team to play too. Set everything up, switch in with Mavuika's burst, hold a charge attack and just spin to win. Okay, let's get Shalonen and Bennett out of here and explore the character roster a little more. Veressa and Yansan came out a couple patches after Mavuika's release, and throwing Chevreuse in there gives you arguably the strongest overloaded team in the game. Yansan gives the team a bunch of attack as well as 4P's Scroll, while Chevreuse is giving some attack too as well as holding 4P's Noblesse. Having 3 Natlan characters in the team has benefits too. Mavuika has plenty of fighting spirit to charge her burst. Yansan, who also happens to be on the banner, has better uptime on her attack buff, and then Veressa triggers her passive quicker. Basically, when a party member triggers a Night Soul burst, she gets 35% attack. This can stack twice, but the cooldown on how often your party can trigger Night Soul burst is reduced based on how many Natlan units you have in the team, so it helps to have 3. Enough of DPS Mavuika, I pulled her so she can support my teams. One character in desperate need of support is Chaska. On her release, her best team was Auroron, Farina and Bennett. The release of both Mavuika and Seat Lally gives her a few options though. Seat Lally is always kicking off with Auroron, so it's fitting that she kicks him out the team. Cryo in for Electro means we can get some melts off, which is appreciated. Seat Lally as a sustain means we can swap Bennett out for Mavuika for buffs and sub DPS damage. Seat Lally's also going to buff Pyro and Hydro damage, which benefits all 3 of the damage dealers in this team. There's also resistance to interruption. On top of all this, if you want to, you could give Seat Lally Thrilling Tales and buff one of Chaska or Mavuika. This was one of my favourite Mavuika teams to be honest, because I like Chaska's gameplay. Stacking the team with Natlan units also gives each character more from their passive. Mavuika gets more fighting spirit for a burst damage and the buff she gives Chaska. Chaska can trigger the extra instance of damage from her passive more often, and Seat Lally gets more Night Soul points to keep his skill going. Mavuika rides a motorbike, Mualani rides a shark. Makes sense we try them together. Mavuika's applying Pyro as well as giving Mualani a damage buff from a burst. A Dendro unit gives us the Burning Aura, and Shalonen has Resistance Shred as well as a 4P Scroll buff. Having a few Natlan units in the team means Mualani gets more burst damage from a passive too. If you don't have Shalonen, Dahlia gives us the Hydro Resonance for the extra HP, but the attack speed isn't doing anything for Mualani. It is worth noting that Shalonen might struggle to react with Hydro after the first rotation because of the Burning Aura. For this reason, giving Dahlia 4P Scroll can buff Mualani's Hydro damage, but only by 12% because he's not from Natlan. I like Nahida as the Dendro support for the Elemental Mastery in the AoE. Emily's an option though if you're willing to put a French character in there. Speaking of Emily, we have this Knif's team. On launch, he had a similar thing that Mualani had in that you'd run Xiangling despite it not being perfect, just so you could get enough off-field pyro application. Mavuika does that though with a buff to the on-fielder, more damage than Xiangling, and she doesn't need energy for a burst. Kenichi's Night Soul consumption will be more than enough to give a burst uptime. Kenichi's Natlan passive gives him more skill damage the more teammates trigger Night Soul burst, so having Mavuika in there in place of Dia or Xiangling is a nice benefit. In terms of artifacts, you could stick 4-piece Deepwood on Emily and 4-piece Scroll on Mavuika to drive Kenichi's damage higher, maybe try Deepwood on Mavuika, or you could just give Mavuika 4-piece Codex to push her damage higher and forget about Scroll. There's even the option to swap out Emily for Farina or a Scoffia because of the burning aura. Either way, this team's leaving your enemies dead where they stand like Tupac. What, too soon? On the subject of dead homies, Navia has Malus and Silver, so it's no surprise she synergizes with Mavuika too. People used to run Navia, Xiangling, Bennett and Zhongli. Xilonen replaced Zhongli and now Mavuika replaces Xiangling in what feels like only a small upgrade in terms of damage, but definitely a big upgrade in terms of convenience and not needing to rely on energy to get a burst back. Another thing going for Mavuika over Xiangling, and not everyone will benefit from this, but I still felt it was worth a mention, is that Mavuika can hold Wolf's Gravestone. That attack buff is big for Navia, and Xiangling can't hold any weapons that provide a similar team-wide buff. For those of you that like collecting man slots, Wriothesley works well with Mavuika. It's always nice to give Wriothesley a run out, because my friends put me onto Arcane, and I thought Vi looks cool as fuck with the big metal fists. Wriothesley's like a Genshin version of that, and with Mavuika in the team, they can have a dump truck competition. I'll be honest, as much as I like his design, I don't use Wriothesley too often. I don't like using Bennett in every other team, and without him, it just feels like I'm dealing no damage. Mavuika is cool for giving Wriothesley another teammate, but we might have to wait on a Bennett replacement here. For those that don't mind running Bennett, you'll be glad to know this team deals some decent damage. Mono Hydro is one of my favourite team archetypes in the game. Water's always been one of my favourite elements in video games, and in Genshin it just so happens to be one of his strongest. What does Mavuika bring to this? Well, she can hold 4-piece Scroll to give the team 40% Hydro damage bonus and still deal big damage herself. What does the team give to her? Not much, unfortunately. With there not being any other Natlan units for building fighting spirit, she's relying on the team's normal attacks. It is enough for her to pop a burst every rotation, but not enough that she can take it far past the minimum and really push her damage higher. I feel it's a good team though. 4 damage dealers, plenty of healing, enough energy to pop everyone's burst comfortably. Kokomi's actually dealing a good amount of damage with us having 3 units buffing her. If anyone has Kokomi's signature weapon, this is definitely a team worth trying, and if not, she has a good free-to-play option with the Natlan Craftable giving her 32% normal attack damage. For the last team, of course we had to bring New Valette out. You already know it's going to be good. Is it as good as the Kazuha variants though? I felt the difference was negligible. In AoE situations, I'd opt for Kazuha. Single target, I'd go with Mavuika. For a score, I'd give Mavuika a 9.5 out of 10. She has the strongest team in the game, and she's flexible with how many teams she can work in as either a DPS or a support. Her biggest downside is that so much of her kit's built around her value as an on-field DPS rather than leaning more into her potential as an off-field support. Not the end of the world of course, but with there already being so many on-field pyro DPSs is a little frustrating. I'm dropping a similar guide for Emily soon as well as an Anefa guide next week. Come join my Discord if you use it and take it easy.